Okay, great. Well, my name is Stephanie Mulwan, and I'm the Director of Sustainability and Communications at Neighborhood Sun. This is our fourth official Community Advocacy Board meeting and third of 2024. We're really lucky to have Laurel Peltier here today with us. I'll let her introduce herself a bit more, but she's clean energy expert based in Maryland. She's an educator and she's written for a lot of publications about clean energy issues and also is an advocate out in the field trying to help lower income folks against predatory practices. So she's going to be talking with us today about third-party energy specifically, and there will be a chance to ask questions at the end, but feel free to put questions in the chat as well. And then later we'll have some discussion questions to get everyone's thoughts on things. So I'll go ahead and pass it over to Laurel and start presenting. Just let me know if you can't see the presentation.
I can see it. And hello, everybody. Happy day. And I see Natalia. She came to GEDCO. I don't know if you recognize, I'm in the conference room because I just did my 2-hour shift. But it's nice to have a lunch and learn and talk about, people always say to me, oh, can you tell me about retail energy? And I say, so how long do you have? Because I've been working on this topic for a while. But so to introduce myself, I am an energy advocate. I focus on the low-income segment. I chair the state's Awesome Energy Advocates Coalition, which you guys are a part of, definitely a partner. And our mission is to lower the really large segment of what you would officially call a limited income accounts, which is about 450,000 accounts. I wear a lot of hats. I also am AARP's utility advocate. And for me, the best way I've learned really to help people is to work with people and see what's actually happening out in the field. And it is an honor to have people come to me. Just got off my shift and they're just struggling with their BG&E bills. So you can go to the next slide. And the reason I got to GEDCO is I was a reporter, just a small environmental reporter for Green, for Baltimore Fishbowl. I had 3 kids and had to kind of leave my product manager career because it was impossible for me to do that with my husband's job. And after like 5 years, I was known for talking about how great green third-party energy was. And it wasn't until I was at church one day, I belonged to a big church, and a bunch of people brought their bills in. And it's the first time I had actually seen the predatory pricing. And I had no idea what was going on. And it started a really fun journey that ended on May 9th of this year, where our state has put in some excellent guardrails that start on January 1st. But what we found is that there are still 291,000 accounts on retail energy. I'll explain what it is. And they will not be protected by this new bill on their current contracts. So I'm going to go fast through this. It's only 14 people. I imagine you guys know some of this, but retail residential energy started, it was really led by Enron in the 90s, that, infamous energy trader that turned out to be a bad energy trader. And they pushed very hard to, along with other players, especially commercial accounts, to be able to break up the vertical monopolies and create a competitive energy market just for the supply. And there was a lot of hope with this. It's residential and business accounts. Within the business accounts, there's small business and then the big commercial accounts. And I want to note that the small business accounts have almost the same results as residential. And so far, that's been a blind spot in our state. And what it does is it gives pretty much every account in our state the ability to choose their electricity and gas supply from either your regulated utility like Pepco, BG&E, Potomac Edison, Delmarva, or SMECO, or all these competitive energy firms that popped up about 14 years ago.
Did you freeze there, Laurel? Is that just me?
No, she froze for me also.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back.
Okay.
You just cut out there for a second.
Oh, sorry. I'm on their network. So, did you catch anyway?
We
It's
caught the
competitive
end.
supply.
I just switched over to the next slide if you're
Okay.
ready.
This just kind of gives a visual. There's only 13 states, and actually, you could say now there's 8 states that have not reformed, and there are 4 states that really have. We're one of them now: New York, Connecticut, and Maryland. Ohio to an extent, but I'm hearing big time that all the other states are kind of getting on board, because you'll see why. Next slide. It didn't work. In Maryland in 1999, our state did a wide sweeping Electric Choice Act, and it did a lot of things. It opened up commercial. It changed the way power plants and regulated utilities work. But for residential accounts, I just focus on residential. Since 2010, when this product actually really started, when it could be billed on the utility bills, and there's a big 10-year gap there, about 2.8 million contracts have been sold. It's only a state with 2.3 million accounts. And it's interesting, about 75% of those 2.8 million sales were done at the door. So, and what that means is people aren't flocking to buy energy. It's not like buying a Girl Scout cookie. It's the interest level isn't that high. People have to go out there and be in the big box stores and it's a push product. The majority of the in-person sales are not factual. Reps lie about the product, the savings, the reward, how it works. Not all reps, but there are many instances of illegal slamming. That's an unauthorized sale. And seniors, Spanish speakers, and low income were 100% caught in this mess, as you'll see. Our state has done some reform, big time. 2021, a law capped that energy assistance was eliminated for folks on energy assistance households. And then in 2024, the law I was talking about was called SB1. And I will talk about that later. So you can go to the next slide. You guys can step in if I'm going too fast, but I know this is a pretty smart energy crowd. So the main problem with retail energy is consumers can't set it and forget it. And that is actually something that very few people hear. The media doesn't hear that, legislators don't hear that, and consumers don't hear that. You have to stay engaged with this product. You got to know what you're doing. And 75% of the 10 million consumers out there in our country that have signed up for this, they just set it and forget it, and they end up paying a lot more for power. The reason is the contracts are bait and switch. They're generally short-term in length, from 3 months to a year, generally. A lot of teaser rates, which means a promotional rate, gift cards, rewards. And it's a hard product to sell. And if you're out there as a commission salesperson, you're gonna kind of say whatever sells. And some of the sales I've seen have just, they're creative, let's put it that way. And people sign up on an e-tablet. They don't read a contract until it possibly comes in their email about a week later. These contracts, even in Texas, the big state, they have to be reshopped. And most people don't. They use these variable rates, which regulated utilities do not use. Regulated utilities are regulated by the PSC Commission. The rates are regulated, and none of that applies in this deregulated market. So these rates have no rate caps. And these contracts, I still am a little surprised we allowed these to happen for so long, because these contracts are tricky. The variable rates can change every invoice. They have no maximums and no regulatory oversight. Next slide. So what happened? Well, that's a pretty sweet business model. And the door was open for people to make money. And this chart is, it's really all you have to see. The average SOS rate, the average regulated electricity supply rate for our state, easy to get this data off of the DOE EIA websites, is the black line. You can see It's been pretty low. It was around 9 cents, dipped all the way down to 7 cents. And the red line is the average retail energy residential rate. It's always been higher, and it just got obscene in 2022. And that right there is $817 million that people paid extra to be on a third-party supplier just for electricity. So that's apples to apples. That's people, the 1.9 million in regulated utilities in 2022 paid 8 cents on average. If you were on a third-party supplier, the average was 12 cents. Next slide. So what was really starting to become the story is, like I said, I wish people were as excited about energy as we are, but the vast majority aren't. They're pretty unengaged with this product. And some retailers, I'd say the majority, realized that the sales were in the low income areas. People who are broke and struggling to pay their bill are much easier to sell to, because if you start talking about a low rate in savings, they need it. So the picture on the left is where the most retail suppliers sold door to door. The dark purple are all the low income zip codes in Baltimore. Down in your area where you guys all work, there's a couple zip codes with a lot of Spanish speakers in Tacoma Park. That's where they roam, all those apartment buildings. And then finally, this amazing PhD student did her dissertation on why are low-income households paying more, and BG&E gave her 3 years of data, billing data, and you can see the slide on the right is what was happening without any reporting in our state. All of this reporting basically was clawed out by advocates, and then this data came along. It was a 108-page report, but here's the story. The red line, this is 2019 to 2022. That red line is SOS. Again, that's the regulated utilities electricity rate. The dark blue line are high income accounts. The gray line, thank you, Stephanie, is middle income accounts. And that light blue line on the top are low income accounts. I had seen that in the research. We had reported that. We did an ABLE Foundation report. But this slide right here, I think, is really what angered the legislators to finally say, this has got to stop. So next slide. In the end, $1.2 billion more electricity and gas. And our state was actually getting hit the hardest. I don't have that slide in here, but I started really looking at the other states, and they were really, really hitting our state and New Jersey very hard. So say Pennsylvania with their 1.5 million accounts might pay 33% more. Last year, our folks paid 50% more. Again, it's stats like that that really made the legislators, especially when industry was walking in saying, we're so good, we help people, it's all green energy. And then you see the results and you realize none of it was true. So next slide. So let's get to, I think, what might be a sweet spot for your team is, well, what about this wind energy offers? These are the 4 top players in the country as well as in our state. The green offers are sold, and this is really what I want everyone on this call to focus on. They are sold to consumers as real electricity. There are pictures in the marketing of wind turbines and solar panels. There is even Clean Choice out there that put on Facebook 2 months ago that enrolling with Clean Choice was the same as putting solar panels on your house. That is what consumers are hearing. And I was right there with them. I'm a hardcore environmentalist. I am terrified of climate change, and that we have 25% of our state's enrollees in residential retail choice signed up for these 100% green offers. But I wanted to show you what people are paying. So Inspire Energy is actually shot up to be our #1 supplier in the state. They're owned by Shell Energy. It's a little ironic, right? Shell Oil. They charged about 50% more. The average Inspire Energy family paid an extra nearly $500. Clean Choice, which has been around for a while, their average customer paid 19 cents. their average customer. I have a gal who paid 41 cents. So the average customer paid $1,000 more. Smart Energy, again, is another Shell Energy. They made a big funding payment to them. Smart Energy is in big trouble in our state. They paid 17 cents, and Clean Sky is a small player, paid 12 cents. And let me tell you something. Inspire, Clean Choice, Smart Energy, and Clean Sky are all in the neighborhoods east of here. They're in the lowest income zip codes. Though Clean Choice tended to use that infamous mailer. I'm a little hard on Clean Sky, Clean Choice, because I'm just saying what's factual. They sent out a mailer to a lot of people that didn't have a logo on it, and many people thought it was the BG&E mailer. They have slightly tweaked that. So next slide. The issue that the state has is that eco buyers were not getting what was sold. What they wanted is this awful picture on the left, which I hand drew, and they wanted to be paying extra for real wind energy. I talked to a lot of people and they said, oh, I'm totally happy, Laurel. I am paying XYZ an extra nickel because I am supporting wind energy in Pennsylvania. And I would say, what do you think it is? Well, I'm paying for the actual wind energy that's going into the grid and is displacing dirty energy. That is not what people are getting. What they are getting are RECs. They are getting voluntary, unbundled, renewable energy certificates. And from my research, they're very, very inexpensive. They are just simply digital certificates. And that little part of this chart right there under the GOT is its whole entire story. It is, I would argue, and I think there's a lot of data for this, that these voluntary, unbundled, renewable energy certificates are not working and they are pretty ineffective. But the issue is that's the product people are getting. It is paired with regular old grid electricity. So I'm not going to spend any more time on RECs. It is a super fun, interesting thing to read. And I have a report that I show you at the end. So what happened? What are we doing about all this? That's retail energy. It didn't work, but it can work. So next slide. But first, let's compare it to community solar. And since 2015, when that pilot came on board, there has been no bigger fan of community solar than Laurel Peltier. And I'm a fan of it for all of the reasons that these 10 questions you ask when you compare the product, if you go under community solar, they are all green checks. And with the law last year, HB 908, it made it even better. It's permanent now. And some of this stuff, these consumer protections are locked and loaded. So basically, I'll go one by one. And you can see third-party energy has a lot of reds on it where it's just not the same. So do you change your utility provider, community solar versus third-party energy? I kind of screwed this chart up because I did it last night. You do not. Both community solar and third-party energy, you still get a bill from BG&E. That's my utility. I will say with community solar, it's currently dual billing, and we're all pretty excited for utility consolidated billing or SCB, different conversation. So are there additional costs and fees? With community solar, there is not. You're based on your solar credits from regulated rates. Are there additional costs and fees with third-party energy? I gave it a green check. Absolutely, if you're not watching your contract, and 75% of the people don't. So I should have maybe put a pink little, no sign there. Are there rate hikes under community solar? No. Are there under third-party energy? Yes. Generally, most contracts go to variable rates. Just helped 2 people today, which is a little rare in this low-income zip code. Neither of them were on energy assistance. One was on NRG for 4 years. Her power is probably going to be turned off in the next 2 days. And a guy took Clean Choice. He wanted that iPad that they put on Facebook in this recent. Locally generated energy, community solar, yes. Those are new wind farms being built, solar farms being built in our state. Third-party energy has absolutely nothing to do with renewable energy going onto a grid anywhere in the United States. It is just a digital certificate. Is it 100% renewable energy? I think community solar is. I think retail energy is not. Is it accessible to renters? Both are. Is there a fee to cancel community solar? No. There is often a fee for retail energy if you're on a fixed rate contract. Guaranteed savings, yes, under community solar, given the new law. Third party energy, there are no guarantees. More savings for low income, the share product that Neighborhood Sun sells. Those are beautiful discounts that are meaningful. There's nothing different for low income, other than they actually can't be on third party if they're on energy assistance. And do they create local job opportunities? Community solar is built in our state. These third party retail energy suppliers, the vast majority are large Texas companies doing energy trading out of Houston. They might have some employees here. I know some of them, especially Clean Choice Energy, is located in Washington, D.C. So I think this report card says it. You can be on both community solar, and if you're really good at energy, you can work third-party retail energy the way it was supposed to work. I'm on both, but I never, ever switched gas. Well, I did switch gas, but I don't recommend it for most people because it's a lot, and I have messed up my third-party retail energy providers. But you can do it with the current system. You can be on both. And then my last slide is SB1, if you're interested. This was, and I'm grateful to Gary and the whole Neighborhood Sun crew for their voice at SB1, which was a monumental bill. Senator Augustine, if you ever see him, he went to the mat. That man and Delegate Crosby, they put up with a lot. But SB1 goes into effect on January 1st. It was signed by Governor Moore. The biggest thing it does is it puts pricing guardrails so that people who start new contracts only after January 1, so all those old contracts out there are not helped. So I'm doing everything I can to get that out so people check their contracts, reshop, or cancel them. Rates will meet or beat regulated utilities for electricity and gas. The green offers, this is very, very new. We're ahead of the other states. They can charge more, but they have to go to the PSC. They have to have their recs reviewed, and they will then be told what rate they can charge. Here's where it comes into play. Many of these suppliers are buying Washington State dam recs. I've heard they're still very, very cheap because not a lot of states want these dam recs from, I like that, dam recs, from 100-year-old dams. That's just very ineffective. So if they did find out, they went to the PSC and said, hey, SOS now is 12 cents. We'd like to charge 17 cents. The PSC would say, okay, let's look at what you guys are buying. And they would say, we're buying Washington dam recs, and they're $1.50 a rec. The PSC, after January 1st, is going to say, great, you get to charge 12.3 cents. Now, all of that's just hypothetical. The PSC is massively working on this law because this green power pricing is probably where most suppliers will go. It's a chance for a little bit more profit. There's a lot of new PSC and OPC rules and regulatory power. There are things like account freezes, and this came straight out of the field, and changing the choice ID. So if, say, a senior who is cognitively challenged, their family's trying to keep them protected because they were the ones that would get targeted a lot. We have the infamous Ida Mae in Baltimore City who was on 24 suppliers in 30 months. She literally they would just hit her phone, door, switch. Her account now can be frozen. Just a hold is placed on it where she can never be on a third-party supplier. And if someone's choice ID is compromised and they do a PSC complaint, they can get a new choice ID, because I found a lot of data in the field that they were sharing choice IDs. And sales folks can't be commission-based, so they need to be employees of the company. The commission-based is tough because I was never mad at the sales guys. I didn't agree with what they were selling, but I think they were kind of part of the issue too, because if you're commission-based, I mean, your family, your paycheck is relying on it. So SB1, again, this is very important if you guys can get this out. All of your customers who could be on a third-party supplier, the big ones are NRG, WGL, Clean Choice, Just Energy. They're now doing very long-term contracts. They're doing 2 and 3 year contracts right now so that they're grandfathered and they can charge obscene prices. So that's it. And I have a little page here just to say, if you're so excited about this topic, you can go to Energy Supplier Help Desk. There's tons of research. The green power, greenwashing reports on there. I tell you how to do it. There's the Haas Berkeley competing for inattention. There's tons of articles. And then the infamous Wall Street Journal article, which really kind of broke this in our state, really showed how this was happening in all 13 states. So there you go, retail energy in 16 minutes, maybe. So thanks. I would love to answer questions if you have any.
There's a question in the chat that says, aren't RECs tantamount to green energy being generated and used, whether or not it comes to my house if I buy it?
Nope. I would read the report, Allegra. It's a 30 cents. Thank you, Natalia, for getting her up there. A renewable energy certificate does say that 1,000 kilowatt hours, 1 megawatt hour somewhere in the country was generated, and the voluntary ones are inexpensive, and they're just a piece of paper that says this was made, and that you can claim it, that the greenness of it is yours. I think the challenge, it's really interesting to read about RECs. And if you want, check out my greenwashing report. And I did a video explaining unbundled RECs because it's pretty confusing. But the challenge is that when you go onto these websites and you listen to the sales, people who are paying these think about Clean Choice, $1,000 more. The lady I helped who came and testified, she paid $17,000 more in 2.5 years. And they really thought they were paying for one thing. So if you want to pay more for RECs and you're watching your contract, that's great. That's your decision. But at least know what you're buying. And I think the real benefit to SB1 is consumers now. There's going to be a disclosure. They're until about 9 months ago, you couldn't even tell it was a REC. You had to call in, and the reps didn't know. And it's really hard to even ask them, well, where's your REC from? If I find out that I'm paying $1,000 more for energy that was made, that I have a digital certificate for from a dam in Washington State that's been there for 100 years, that's ineffective to me. I haven't supported anything additional. I've really, as what I contend, is just given the profit to that third-party supplier who's literally just making it profit. It's not even going toward green energy. I don't know if I answered that right. It's a very tricky question. But I would argue that a voluntary unbundled renewable energy certificate, and voluntary is key, it's not compliance, is ineffective. There's a lot of other ways to take your money and support sustainable efforts. Like, I'm sure you're on community solar, but so I hope I explained that. Let's see here. Oh, choice ID. So every utility bill in the state of Maryland has your account number, but in order to change your supply, you needed these little teeny choice ID numbers. They're kind of like the social security number of your utility account. And when a supplier has that choice ID number and it's a legit sale, that's the number that would start the switch between the regulated utility to a supplier or a supplier to another supplier. I saw an Excel spreadsheet that had 10,000 choice ID numbers on it that was being used out in the field. So it kind of explained a lot of the slamming. Is it in addition to your account number? Yes. So you'll have, I actually have a BG&E. This is the gal I helped. You'll have your account number, which is what the regulated utility uses. And then you'll have the choice ID, which is one for electricity and one for gas. That's why if you never show your bill to anybody, because once they have that number, they can switch it if you get somebody who's not legit. Let's see. Yeah, I like the way you guys explained it. Can you speak to WGL's offer? It's green certified. Yes. I would have to say WGL has been trying their hardest with their Clean Steps product. And a green certified is it's done by a nonprofit out of San Francisco called CRS. And what they've tried to do is say, well, here's what's interesting about RECs. Stephanie, don't kill me. We weren't supposed to talk a lot about RECs.
That's okay.
There is no regulatory anything in the country for renewable energy certificates. That is a fact. The only regulations out there are an FTC green guide, the infamous FTC. And this green guide was written in 2012. And it literally has the following sentence. If you buy a renewable energy certificate, you can call it renewable energy. Now, it was hugely, especially the Gill and Water Greenhouse Gas Institute, all these scientists, they were like, no, this should be fixed. They didn't fix it. So it's this little FTC green guide and the GHG protocol. Watch the video that kind of gets you in the weeds. So there is a group called CRS out of San Francisco. I think I've talked to them. They're good people. We vehemently disagree on the voluntary market. But they came up with a green certified program that companies can basically become a member of and just say, I commit to doing what you guys say. And let's have these voluntary RECs have more standards. So the standards are, the RECs can't be from trash incinerators. They need to be from wind or solar. I think hydro. Actually, I'm not sure if hydro's in it. I'll have to, maybe someone can look that up now. And the generator that's making the energy that's being dumped into a grid somewhere has to be 15 years or newer. So it's a relatively new energy generator. And that's what Green certified is. And so, for instance, if you're at a Texas wind farm, most of Green certified RECs are from Texas, Kansas, or Oklahoma wind farms, or Iowa or Illinois that were built 15 years or newer. You're not getting the wind energy, you're getting the renewable energy certificate and paying a little teeny bit of money that goes to the developer. So that's what Green certified is. So the only Green certified offer in our state is WGL Clean Steps. And they tend to charge about 4 to 5 cents more per kilowatt hour. And they've told us, and I believe them, that they are buying RECs from within the PJM territory. So one of the things that really kind of got the legislators, especially our clean energy legislators, is they knew these RECs were being purchased far, far away. It had nothing to do with our climate. Again, they're mostly out of Texas. And here's the truth. They were going to build those Texas wind farms anyway, because it's really the big federal tax credit that got those things in the ground. It's hard to build clean energy. So that is WGL's offer. And I'd have to say they were one of the few that's like, we'll do SB1. I don't know if they're still going to, I don't know how their Clean Steps is going to be priced. It'll be really interesting to see what WGL, only their Clean Steps product, is Green certified RECs from the PJM territory. And that is very in the weeds, but this topic is really in the weeds. And I think that's how these companies have capitalized on this. It's very tricky, especially when you have a green guide, which is under review, which says you can call it renewable energy. I think they're still pushing it, but that's a story on voluntary renewable energy certificates. And I just urge everyone to check their friends' bills, especially if you're in like a green listserv, like a sustainability group. your parents, you're at church. I just tell everybody, just check your BG bill. People are shocked when they find out they're on a supplier. They're like, I have no idea how I did this. If that person says that, you just got to cancel, because they're absolutely charging. Even Constellation is starting to overcharge. And a lot of people thought Constellation was BG&E because it got kind of gray there, but they're two different companies now. So our state's in a really good place because there's a lot of rate pain coming, and this is the last thing we need, is for our more vulnerable households to be paying on average $500 more for the same energy. Let's see, any more questions?
I don't see any more questions. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. Do you think those companies at some point are going to be asked to like pay for that money back, especially to like low income households, or not?
No. There is, if you ever meet somebody, like today we're going to file, I'm helping a lady file. The Public Service Commission does have a formal complaint system if somebody was illegally signed up. Basically, you open up a legal complaint with the company, and that company has to prove that it was a legal sale. If the resident wins that case, which takes a long time, can take 4 to 6 months, then generally that supplier has to repay all the extra money that they illegally took for an unauthorized sale. There have been a lot of complaints. And I would say the highest refund that one of my clients has gotten was $4,500 from it. I'm going to out Indra. This company called Palmco, and what they're doing in DC, Washington DC. By the way, I don't know what's up with that PSC or that OPC. They have the highest rates, and they're getting slammed by Clean Choice, and they're promoting. I don't know. They're not getting it. I've sent them stuff, they only have 35,000 accounts, but the average account paid $1,075 more in DC. So, and I'm sure they're in the Anacostia area, and that's not cool. So nope, the Smart Energy is on the hook for 16 million, but that's been a massive case in our state. It is a very tricky, and they're still fighting it, and that's after a 5-year effort by the state, and they still haven't paid, and then they got out of our state. Let's see. I see. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Badger had raised their hand first, and then Allegra. Go ahead, Badger.
RECs, is there such thing as involuntary RECs?
Yes. So you should look up what's called compliance recs, and those compliance recs are what states use to make their renewable portfolio standards work. Compliance recs. So basically, if you really study recs, which I spent a lot of time, because I was really curious, how is this happening? It was such a fun deep dive. Is the idea of recs 20 years ago is that it would be a funding source, almost a little bit like a stock, like a stocks and bonds. The thing is, you need a market. If you put out a stock in the United States or anywhere in the world, they only give out so many shares. And so the price is going to be based on so many shares. The problem with voluntary unbundled recs is it's limitless. So they had this massive amount of voluntary recs that literally sold for 50 cents for 1,000 kilowatt hours for years. So, and it was supposed to fund and build more clean energy. The compliance markets and RPSs and all that stuff is over here in a box. And it's a really interesting topic. I think a lot of states, including ours, are asking, is it working? There's evidence that the compliance market is working in some parts, and that's because it's a fixed amount, and they're forcing the utilities, all utilities, including suppliers, to buy RECs to cover their, to cover the energy they're selling. So they are two separate markets. The voluntary market is, there's so much written on it. And I mean, I meet people all the time and they're like, Laurel, you're an idiot. I think the voluntary REC market is great. And I'm like, okay, go do the data and show where voluntary RECs are doing anything other than a little teeny stipend to some generator. But it's a massive market. And as I've learned, if there are a large number of companies making a ton of money on something, they want to keep making that money. So
are compliance recs like more regulated, I'm guessing? No.
They're only regulated in the sense that states make these renewable portfolio standards.
Okay.
So,
but you were
and
saying
that's a
that,
big topic.
Yeah, you were saying that like for the recs that they don't even necessarily have to be linked to clean energy. So then I'm wondering how the states would even, how can you like require something that isn't clear,
Well, so what I would do is this session, Badger, follow the incineration bill for the RPS. It's called the Renew Energy Act. Sorry, you guys help me with this one. I'll send it to you. Okay, in our RPS, they have trash. So let's just take this offline because.
Yeah, sorry. But like, just to clarify, when you say like not clean energy, you mean stuff like trash incineration, like stuff that's akin to, but not exactly clean.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's renewable. Like there's a fantastic Reveal you should listen to. Reveal is that awesome podcast, and it's called It's Not Easy Being Green. You guys, it is the best podcast to listen to. And just listen to that. Those every trash incinerator in our country is spitting out voluntary renewable energy credits. And you know who's buying most of them? The US government. So just listen to that. I'll put it, I'm going to put it in the chat.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Allegra, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so working with a company like the one that you guys work for, where I buy my solar energy from Neighborhood Sun, but it won't cover all my energy needs. The share that I get isn't big enough, and if it were, then I would be overbuying part of the year and underbuying other parts of the year. So what do you suggest we do for the remaining electrical that we're trying to use? And, I'm somebody who just went completely off natural gas, so I have a higher electrical need than I used to even. So that's my question.
So I like how, I think your goal of doing everything you can is smart. And if you're going to choose an energy supplier, the only one I would choose is WGL's Clean Steps. I would 100% stay on top of your contract. I would negotiate like you've never negotiated to get the lowest price you can. And those are PJM. Supposedly, you should ask them. PJM is our grid wind RECs, Greenie certified. That's the only product out there. And you guys, there are 200 offers right now. Imagine that. There's 200 different offers from about 50 suppliers, and there's only one. I think there's better ways, you probably have solar on your roof. You probably drive an EV or a hybrid. You probably don't drive. You probably compost. I mean, I think you and I are similar. I'm doing everything in my power to reduce my greenhouse gas emissions for my family. I don't fly as much at all. I don't say that out loud because it tends to make people feel but I'm so careful. And then that's probably the only thing I would do. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like the options are limited right now. And
Mhm.
if we want to stay clear of carbon emission sources of electricity, we have to pay more essentially and be very selective.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think
Thank
they're
you.
trying. I'm not really sure what a voluntary rec from an Illinois wind farm does or did, but that's as close as you're going to get it. If anybody else has any good ideas, you guys probably get this question a lot. I mean, I literally tell people go plant trees. I mean, there's just a lot of things we can do to reduce greenhouse gases. I'm just not sure if these voluntary recs, but that's as good as you're going to get. And negotiate. I mean, if they want you as a customer, you've probably been a customer for a long time, or maybe see if you can get your share larger. So, oh, thank you, Natalia, for putting that Spotify. I think it's just, they did such a good job explaining a tricky concept, and it just nod off to me when you giggle about the trash, the guy who owns Palm Beach trash incinerator. I mean, you just got to laugh when he starts talking because he's so honest. I was like, did anybody call him and say, maybe you should? He's like, I get $100,000. I mean, it cost me 29 million to run this place. It's great. So, but I think, helping other people, that's another thing. Trying to get more people into Empower Maryland is going to make a huge difference. Trying to get people off their gas furnaces, especially people in the rural areas. We're working on our coalition, getting them off delivered fuels, the oil and the propane. Being helpful, and sorry, people are helping on people understand just the power of Empower Maryland, and to insulate your home, and to help other people understand that it really pays off to weatherize your homes. Getting out in the field, wherever you live, especially if you're down in Montgomery County, there's big teams right now going out to the low income folks and going into the communities, trying to get them to understand a lot of this stuff so that they can take advantage of all the benefits that are out there. That for all of our programs in our state, the low income segment the participation is really low. So that's what we work on is, for instance, the new MEA, the whole Inflation Reduction Act stuff. There's a big podcast on September 27th from the MEA telling us what exactly is going to happen in our state, and really educating people, because Allegra, they probably look up to you because they know you're into this and they believe you. And oftentimes I'll just put out a post and say, hey, you guys, community solar is awesome. Sign up for it. It's easy peasy. I think that has a lot of power in getting people to focus on their home energy. That's my sales thing. And that's how I look at it personally. What we each on average know 250 people. And I think word of mouth, people are so, I told Stephanie I was going to talk about this. The real challenge, I think, for community solar is that third-party energy has a horribly negative halo, because so many people will say, no, I did it, I was burned. And then you're kind of on your heels and you're saying, oh, it's a different product. Trust me, it's a different product. So over time, I've always hoped that everybody in community solar would get together and do that fantastic chart. If you want to go back to it, Stephanie, here's the difference between community solar and third-party energy. Totally different products. And get the market more level set, especially after January 1. So I've been mad, I go out into and I have to spend a lot of my energy to reset somebody so that something that is positive and good and regulated is legit. So, any other questions?
I think that's it, and we're running close on time, so I think we'll save the discussion questions either for the next meeting or send those out in a survey. And I'll be sure to include, I've also listened to that podcast. I can't remember if it was you or David that suggested it, but I learned so much. I think I sent it to Emily as well. So I'll make sure to share that with our whole team, and I'll include that in the email to all our CAB members with this recording and along with your slides, if you don't mind me sharing those so people can have access to the links.
Please do. And I thank you so much for your time. I love what Neighborhood Sun does, and I'm positive. I see some incredibly positive changes, especially within our legislature, our PSC, our OPC. There's so many good things coming, but check your bill. And if you find somebody, the problem is my reach isn't as far down in the Potomac, in the Pepco area, in Potomac Edison. But I mean, I'm just finding some homes. I'm like, I don't know how they've been paying these bills, especially in the higher income zip codes. They don't notice it as much on these green suppliers. So anyway, thanks you guys. Good luck. You can always email me, and onward. Really psyched for you guys.
Well, thank you so
Laurel.
much. Thanks for your time, Laurel, and for sharing your expertise. I learned a lot, and honestly, this was kind of enraging to see the numbers you had in the charts. I mean, it's just obscene that these offerings that are supposed to help lower income folks, save money are really taking advantage. So
Big
I am
time.
glad.
And thank Senator Augustine, Delegate Crosby, Senator Ferguson. I mean, Governor Moore. I mean, this industry freaked out when this bill got passed. They're still sending out emails to all of their customers, basically throwing shade on SB1 and saying, oh, we're going to leave the state, and, they're throwing us out. Well, retail choice is still here. You got to do right by Maryland. That's what Augustine always said. You got to do right by Marylanders. And I'm seeing much better rates. I'm seeing better products. It's how it should be. So it's a nice time to say that our government stepped in and fixed something that they created. We just now got to work on small business, which, and commercial, even there's some funky things I'm learning about commercial where there could be more regulations, but commercial customers are pretty sharp and they hire brokers. It's the small business segment now that is just getting clobbered. So anyway, thanks you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work on this, Laurel. Good to see
you're welcome.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.